What's up guys, welcome back to Franchise Player, and today we're checking out 5 PS Vita games that I'm still playing in 2024. The Vita may have not had the most successful life in the world by any means, but in 2024 I'm still playing a ton of games on it. I'm going to be showcasing 5 different ones today. I could probably, no joke, make like another 5 or 6 of these videos with PS Vita games that I'm still playing in 2024 because there's still so much on the library that I think is underrated. I don't want to necessarily say hidden gem because it may be a type of genre that you wouldn't play unless it was on a Vita. But overall, the Vita is full of some heat. There's a ton of games I recommend for it, but enough of me babbling. Let's get right into these 5 games I'm still playing. So the game we're going to be checking out first is Ys 8, and Ys 8 on Vita is honestly nowadays probably the worst way you could play it because you can play it on PS4, PS5, Switch, and it runs a little bit better, and there's definitely more to the game. But I don't know what it is, man. I love playing it on Vita. It just feels at home on Vita, as many Japanese JRPGs feel on Vita. They just feel right on Vita. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure this game on Switch would be great, but on Vita it's incredible. So Ys 8, you might hear the title and you're like, damn, number 8. Like, did I have to play like the previous 7? I had the same worries, man. This was the first Ys game I had ever jumped into, and you don't need to play the previous 7 games. Like, maybe it would be cool if you did. Maybe you'll catch some pieces here and there that maybe I'm not fully grasping or understanding. This game came out back in 2016 in Japan and September 12th, 2017 in North America on Vita. So a later release in the Vita life cycle, and a really good one at that. Ys 8 got a 85 on Metacritic, which is a pretty solid rating, and I would argue that it even deserves higher than an 85. I would say maybe an 88 to even 90 really fits this game right. It's a great JRPG with fantastic combat. I think the graphics on Ys 8 are definitely some of the best graphics on Vita. It's a game that I don't think is talked about enough when people are talking about great looking Vita games. Most people are going to bring up Killzone, Uncharted, things like that. I think Ys 8 definitely deserves to be in that conversation for, maybe the best looking Vita game. Now, if you're looking to get Ys 8 physically, it's pretty expensive nowadays on Vita. Most Ys games seem to really hold their value. Mind you, this is the first one I've played, but I'd really consider jumping into other games in the series after playing this one. But it's a 3D, action JRPG. The combat is really smooth. You can learn different moves. I don't want to spoil the story too much, but you play as Adol. He's the main character, the redhead dude. And basically this ship is under attack from a giant monster. You end up on this island, and I'll kind of leave it at that. The island, stuff starts to go down. The enemies in this game are, pretty good. I mean, some of them are a little repetitive, but some of the larger enemies or like boss types are pretty fun and unique. I wouldn't say the gameplay is too repetitive. There's a good leveling system. And one thing I will say, and this isn't really a spoiler because I won't say who, but when you go around the island and traverse around the island, you can add people to your party that kind of help you create this community on the island and try to survive. But yeah, Ys 8, if you're a little nervous about jumping into a JRPG, if you're a little nervous about jumping into the Ys series, I think Ys 8 is definitely a good one to jump into. Like I said, smooth gameplay. It's a long game. I haven't beat it yet, but it's supposed to take about 45 to like 50 hours I saw online, so you can definitely sink some time into this one. And yeah, it's a great game. I don't think you can go wrong with Ys 8 on Vita, and I'll probably be playing this for the rest of the year. With everything that I'm balancing right now, it's going to be hard to get through a JRPG that's a 50-hour game. But yeah, Ys 8, highly recommend it. Okay, so next up we have a game that is also on other systems as well. I believe this is on the 3DS too, and it's probably on Steam if I had to guess, but that game is Tetris Ultimate, and I'm not even kidding, dude. This is probably in my top 3 Vita games in terms of hours played. I have sank so much time, so many hours into Tetris Ultimate, just kicking back, chilling in bed, before I go to sleep, have a podcast on, chill out, playing some Tetris, or just have some music or YouTube playing in the back and grinding through Tetris, because it's a game that you can really just chill, not really think too much until things start to move faster towards the end. But yeah, Tetris Ultimate, really fun game. Came out on Vita back in 2015. There's 7 different game modes in this game. I personally pretty much just play the marathon game mode, which is basically you're trying to get a high score and survive as long as you can. And towards the end, in Tetris fashion, it speeds up and gets more difficult. On Metacritic, this only got a 68. I don't really know why. I mean, I'm not like some diehard Tetris fan, but I felt like this was a pretty good game, especially for Tetris. I don't really know what else you could want for it. Yeah, part of the reason why Tetris Ultimate was so special to me is I was having some medical issues late last year. It's not like I was dying on my deathbed by any means, but there was some pretty difficult stuff going on, and Tetris was an easy game to just throw on, chill, lay in bed, play it, and like I said, have a podcast in the back on YouTube. And it was a game where you didn't really have to think. I think my high score on this is maybe like 140, 150,000. It's nothing insane. I'm not like some Tetris goat by any means, but this is a real fun one. I highly recommend Tetris on Vita. I know it's not some groundbreaking AAA game, but it's like, come on, bro, it's Tetris. I don't think you can go wrong with a Tetris game. Tetris has been popular since the OG Game Boy, so if you want some just fun kind of arcadey action, download Tetris, man. So this next game I'm talking about, I already know there's gonna be some people talking smack about how this just runs terribly on Vita, which I agree it does. And that game is going to be Resident Evil Revelations 2. And unfortunately, the first Resident Evil Revelations was not on this. It's on 3DS. I think they could have easily put it on Vita, but just didn't for some reason. But Resident Evil Revelations 2, get ready to see a game that is not optimized. The frame rate is really bad. The graphics are like super bland. There's not a lot of detail. I'm not kidding. When I was playing through the campaign, I did beat it. I think it crashed twice on the final level, and then once or twice maybe at some other random point in the campaign. But other than that, it's Resident Evil on the go, which that's awesome. I know Resident Evil Revelations 2, it's not RE4, it's not RE2 or RE3, but I think this is a pretty slept on game in the franchise, and it's really cool to have it on Vita. This came out in Japan on Vita back, September 17th, 2015. Got a 65 on Metacritic on Vita, which that might be generous with how bad this runs. But the reason I'm still playing this in 2024 is not the campaign, because you're probably hearing me just complain about how bad it runs, which eventually you kind of get used to it, honestly, and that's kind of the same with Borderlands 2 on Vita. But Resident Evil Revelations 2, the raid mode is where the replayability is at for me. So the raid mode is really cool. There's tons and tons of different missions that you can just grind through, kill, waves of zombies, get collectibles, and eventually get through a level and get on to the next one, and you can level up your different characters from the series that you play as. So raid mode is really cool. Resident Evil Revelations 2, Vita is probably not the best way to play this game, if I'm being real. Better off probably playing this on PS3 or PS4, Switch. This game actually looks really good on Switch, but I think it's still a fun Vita game. If I'm traveling somewhere and only bring my Vita, I'm definitely playing some raid mode. Just because raid mode is super cool. It's a fun game mode where, once again, it's not like you're having to follow a story or anything. You're just, trying to get a high score, kill zombies, and get to the end of the level. So Resident Evil Revelations 2, definitely recommend it, but be prepared that the game looks awful and runs really, really bad. Next up, we have a PlayStation exclusive franchise that has been around since, I believe, the PS1, and that is Wipeout 2048. Wipeout 2048 is another game that looks absolutely incredible on a Vita 1000, just because that OLED, the screen, the games, everything really just pops. The colors look amazing, and it's just such a clear screen. I really wish that OLEDs were on every handheld, like ever. It's crazy it took the Switch so long to get an OLED, but because it costs and stuff, I get it. Wipeout 2048 is one of, if not my favorite racing games on Vita. And Wipeout 2048, like I was saying, the game looks incredible. You can get really nice power-ups throughout races, whether it's kind of like missiles, shields, speed boosts, things like that. If you're not familiar with Wipeout, think Mario Kart power-ups, but in like a futuristic setting. And yeah, Wipeout 2048 came out February 15th of 2012, so definitely an early Vita release, and on Metacritic this received a 79 rating. So I think 79 is also a little low too. Mind you, I'm like a Vita fanboy, so I might be kind of beefing with Metacritics on these ratings, but 79 seems a little low to me, man. I think this game probably should have got like a solid 80 to maybe 84, something like that, I think would definitely have been a little more fair. Wipeout's a really fun racing game. If you're not familiar at all with the franchise, they've had releases on PSP, PS1, Vita, and the games are really fast-paced, futuristic racing action, and I would love to see a new Wipeout game on PS5. I think that'd be really cool. I think it would look awesome. I think it would be really fun to play with the DualSense controller, but we'll see. Sony loves to abandon older franchises. Tons of replayability with this. It's a really fun racer. Wipeout 2048, I say go for it. Last but not least is another Vita game that I have sank tons of time into. I'd probably say as much time as Tetris. Actually, maybe a little bit less than I've sank into Tetris, but that's gonna be Skyforce Anniversary. And this is my favorite shmup on the Vita. It's a vertical scrolling shoot 'em up. And I love vertical scrolling shoot 'em ups, a little bit better than side scrolling, but really unique shmup. It came out in 2016. That's when it released for the Vita. Metacritic rating of 77, so a decent enough score. But this game has a ton of replayability. So there's not a ton of levels by any means, but there's different difficulties to each level. And on those difficulties of each level, you can collect, basically you can get stars for accomplishing certain tasks on that difficulty. And there's like 4 different difficulties for each level. The higher end difficulties are definitely a real challenge where you have to pretty much upgrade your ship, upgrade your abilities. And that's where the replayability is addicting, because you need to collect these points and stars or coins, whatever they call them, to actually buy these power-ups where you can basically max out your rocket, your shield, or some of like your bomb abilities. So this game is awesome, man. I think Skyforce Anniversary has a really cool art style. I think the graphics are really nice, especially on the OLED Vita. Don't get me wrong, this game still looks good on my Vita 2000, but I prefer to pretty much play almost everything on my Vita 1000. I believe you can also get Skyforce Anniversary on PS3 and PS4, but I don't know, the game just feels right on a handheld. And I don't know what it is. I just think there's certain games that feel better on the Vita compared to the, home console counterpart. So yeah, those were 5 PS Vita games that I'm still playing in 2024. I tried to have a healthy mix of different kinds of games. We had a shmup, a futuristic racer, a Resident Evil game. We had Ys 8, so we had a JRPG on there, and Tetris. So I mean, we had, I'd say, a pretty decent mix of games. I'll definitely have another one of these probably later in the year, because there's definitely tons of other Vita games I'm still playing and that I think a lot of other people may not even know are on Vita. And if you're still playing Vita in 2024, which I hope you are, there's not too many of us left on Vita Island, man, but let me know what games you're playing on your Vita. I have a 1000 and a 2000, and I like to alternate back and forth. The 1000 is more of my, daily driver. This one's definitely in way better condition, but let me know some games you guys are playing on your Vita in 2024, man. Let me know if you have some recommendations. I'm super down to check them out. Always looking for some new stuff to play on Vita. But yeah, that'll do it for today's video, guys. Appreciate you watching, and we'll catch you soon with another video.